Today, we're going to finish up these 6.7 notes. And so let's start by reviewing what we talked about yesterday. We talked about interest. And when you're finding simple interest, this is the formula that you use to solve that we're going to continue using today. I equals PRT, where I stands for interest, which is the amount of money that you have to pay back if you borrow a loan, or the amount of money that you earn if you open an account with a bank. That's the interest. The interest is a dollar amount. Principal is also a dollar amount. Principal is the amount of money that you borrowed or that you put into the account. So I always call it the amount that you start with, right? So if I start an account and I put $500 in, that's my principal. If I take out a loan and I borrow $2,000, that's my principal. The rate is the percent that they give you. The interest rate is a percent that we have to change into decimal form so we can use our calculators. And then time is always measured in years. Okay, now we actually looked at a problem yesterday where they gave us the time in months. And so even though they gave us the principal as a dollar amount, the interest rate was a percent, we converted to 0.03. When they gave us months, we had to take the 9 months and divide it by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. And that gave us 3/4 or 0.75. So don't use 9 when they give you 9 months. Make sure you convert that into what most likely will be a decimal, because 9 months is 3/4 of a year. And then once we found our interest, once we found our I, if you want to know what the account balance is, you just have to add the interest back onto the amount of money that you put in the bank, which was called the principal, and that gives you your total amount. So find I, add it on to the principal, and you've got your total. We also looked at a problem where we were not the ones opening an account, but we were the ones borrowing money. And so you'll notice the big difference here is the interest rate we get is a lot higher because they're going to charge us more money for borrowing money from them. And so everything else we did was the same. We plugged in 600 for principal, $600, 0.15 for our 15% interest rate, and then 5 years. And that gave us an interest of $450, which means not only were we going to have to pay back the $600 we borrowed, but an extra $450 because we let this loan go for 5 years. And so again, once you found the interest, we just had to add it on to the principal and to find our total amount. So whether you're finding the account balance or if it just says find the total amount paid on a loan, you still do the same thing. Find your I and add it with the principal. Okay. Today, we are going to find R and T. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to find the other parts of the equation. All right, this problem says you put $1,000 in an account. The account earns $100 in simple interest in 4 years. What is the annual interest rate? So the problem is clearly asking us to find the rate, which is R. So I'm not going to be able to plug anything in for R. What about the $1,000? Can someone tell me, is the $1,000 that we see here, is that going to be your I, your P, or your T?
The letter P.
The letter P. Nice job. Yeah, this is your principal. This is the amount you start with. The principal is always the amount that you borrow, or in this case, you're putting it into the account. It's your principal. So that's going to be our P. Good job. That makes the $100 because the I and P are capitalized for a reason. Did you notice that I and P are capitalized, but R and T are not capitalized? The reason I and P are capitalized is because they represent dollar amounts, whereas R and T do not. Okay, so the other dollar amount that we have here is your I. And it actually says $100 simple interest. So that's a dead giveaway. And then what does that make 4 years then? What variable is that going to be?
Time.
Time. Yes, thank you. It's our time. So that's our T. Okay, so I'm going to set up the problem in the exact same way. For I have something to plug in though. So yesterday, on all of your homework problems yesterday, you were solving for I. Today, we have I. It's $100 equals P, which we said is $1,000, times R, which we do not know. So I'm just going to leave it as R because I can't plug anything in for it, times T, which I'm going to plug in 4. All right, so yesterday we had all three of these numbers and we just multiplied all three of them together. That was pretty simple. I love the problems from yesterday. Today's problems are going to require us to do one extra step. Since we only have two of the three numbers on this side of the equation, we have to multiply the two numbers that we do have together. So what's 1,000 times 4?
4,000.
4,000, good. And since we have not times by r yet, I'm just going to write times r down, or you could just put r next to it because that still shows that you're multiplying. And then on the other side of the equal sign, we still have our $100 interest. Okay, so again, multiply the two numbers that you do have and leave r as a, right there next to it. And then that just turns this into a one-step equation. What would I need to do to both sides of this equation to get r completely by itself?
Divide.
Divide by what?
Divide by 4,000.
Yeah, divide by 4,000. And so the reason we're dividing by 4,000 is because if we want to get r by itself, we have to remove the 4,000. So whatever number you're trying to get rid of, that's the number you got to divide by. And that's going to give us r equals, and then 100 divided by, and again, I'm using my calculator, so please make sure you have access to one, or at least using your iPad calculator. 100 divided by 4,000 is going to give us 0.025. Okay, so that's our interest rate as a decimal. However, our interest rate is supposed to be given as a percent. So that what that means is anytime I'm finding r, I need to convert it to a percent when I'm done. So let me call on someone randomly here. How about Hunter Shoemaker? Hunter, can you tell me what 0.025 would be if I wrote it as a percent? Hunter, are you with us?
Sure, I forgot to unmute. 2.5%.
There you go, 2.5%. Nice job. So what Hunter is doing is he's just moving the decimal point over 2 spots like we've done all chapter long. And that's going to give us 2.5% to go from decimal to percent. So our final answer is that r is 2.5%. Okay, so that's how you find r. Plug in for p, plug in for I, plug in for t. We don't know what r is. So we had to multiply the two numbers that we do have, and then divide that number over to get r by itself, and that gives us a decimal. And remember, expect a decimal answer, because as Hunter just did, we're going to have to convert it to a percent. So expect a decimal answer when you're doing that. Don't be confused if you get a decimal, because that's expected. And then we just make it 2.5%. Okay, any questions on that example before I move on? Anything you weren't quite sure on? Okay, well, let's move on to the next example, which is going to have us find time, which is t. So it says a bank offers 3 savings accounts. The simple interest rate, so r, is going to be determined by the principal. So if we open an account that has less than $500 in it, they're going to give us 1.5% interest rate. If we open an account that has between 500 and 5,000, they're going to give us a 2% interest rate. And if we open an account that has more than $5,000 in it, they're going to give us a 3% interest rate. So R is going to be determined by how much money we're putting in, which is called the principal. Okay. Part A. How long does it take an account with a principal of $800? Okay, so that's pretty obvious. Principal of $800 means that's got to be our P. To earn $100 in interest. So that's got to be our I. The question is, what is T? And if we have to know what T, or if we're going to know what T is, we have to know what R is. And so to find out what R is, we have to determine which of these interest rates we're going to use. Maddox Williams. If we put in $800, can you tell me which of these interest percents they're going to give us?
Can you please say that again?
That's right, 2%. Yeah, so our R is going to be 2% because we're putting $800 in, which is between 500 and 5,000. Good job. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and write our equation down. So when it says how long, by the way, when it says how long, that's our time. And so we're not going to plug anything in for, if that wasn't obvious by the header that says finding time right there, that's going to mean we don't have anything to plug in for T. So I is $100 equals P, which is 800 times R, which is 2%. Now, Maddox, what would 2% be as a decimal? Maddox, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, what would 2% be as a decimal? We'd have to move it backwards twice, right?
Yeah, 0.02.
That's right. Nice job. Yeah, 0.02. Excellent. So 2%, 0.02, and then times our time, which is unknown. And I'm going to stop color coordinating everything because it's taking me so long to write everything down. But it does look nice. All right, so just like our last problem, we are going to multiply the two numbers that we do have on this side, even though we don't know what T is. So can someone tell me what 800 times 0.02 would be?
$16.
16, thank you. So 100 equals 16, and then we still have the T over there. So to solve this, we would need to divide, just like we did last time, by 16. And that's going to give us T equal, and then someone else tell me what 100 divided by 16 is.
6.25.
6.25, good job. 6.25. So our answer is in years, and this answer is perfectly acceptable. That 6.25 years is a great answer. But I'm going to make you think a little bit harder about this one, or a little bit more in depth about this one. If I said 6.25 years, could you tell me, obviously that's 6 years. How many months are there if I said 0.25? How many months would that be?
3.
3 months. Nice job.
3.
Whoever said that. Was it Hannah that said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months. So 0.25 is the same as 1/4. And so 1/4 of a year, you know, since we know there's 12 months in a year, 1/4 of 12 is just 3. So 6.25 years, you could say that, or you could say 6 years and 3 months. All right, there's a part B. It says, there's my lights, they went away. How long does it take an account with a principal of $10,000 to earn $750 in interest? Okay, so it says how long? So there's our time. Does it take an account with a principal of $10,000? There's our P. To earn $750 in interest. There's our I. So we don't know what T is, but we know what P and I are. And we're going to know what R is too. Let me call on somebody random. Parker Bates. Parker, if we put $10,000 in as our principal, which of these 3 interest rates are they going to give us?
3%.
That's right. Yep, 3%. That's going to be our R. And Parker, while I got you, what's 3% going to be as a decimal?
0.03.
That's right. Okay, so we have our R, we have our T, or we don't have T, we have P and I. So we've got our equation, I, or 750, equals P, 10,000, times R, or 0.03, like Parker said, times t. And so let's go ahead and multiply the two numbers that we do know. Frank, can you multiply 10,000 times 0.03 and tell me what you get when we multiply those two numbers? Frank, are you with us?
300.
You got it. Nice job. 300. So we got 750 equals 300t. And then someone else tell me, Andrea Paramo. Andrea, what would we do to both sides to get t by itself?
Divide 300.
Good job. And Andrea, can you tell me what 750 divided by 300 would be?
1,875.
You might have hit multiply. I'm not sure what you did. Do 750 divided by 300.
Oh, okay. Oh, 2.5.
2.5. Okay. So 2.5 years, and again, time is always measured in years, is a perfectly acceptable answer. However, if you want to think a little bit more in depth about it, 2.5 or 2.5 years would be 2 years and how many months? Anybody? How many months? 6 months. Yeah, because it's half of 12 is 6. So you could say 2.5 years or 2.5 years, or you could say 2 years and 6 months. And guys, that is the rest of our notes. So now we know how to find T and how to find R, which, and by the way, if they asked you to find P, which I don't think I have any homework problems that ask you to find P, you would do it the same way. You'd have R and T, you have to multiply the two that you do know, divide it over. And so now what I want to do is I want to spend the rest of our 8 minutes together looking over some homework questions that you might have had from yesterday's part 1 homework. So before I just randomly pick one, does anyone want me to jump to a specific problem? Okay, then I will randomly pick one, and we're landing on number 6, which has vanished. Oh, it's right here. Okay, number 6 says, make sure you know which number we're doing. This is number 6 because the number is way up here, way up there. Okay, number 6 says an account earns simple interest, $350 at 3% for 10 years. Find the interest earned and then find the balance of the account. So this is like the first example we did in the notes yesterday. When it says $350, is that my I, my P, my R, or my T? I'll wait on you guys because this is your homework. What variable is the $350?
The letter I.
Not the letter I.
The P.
Letter P. Yes, it's
Okay.
the letter P. Yeah, and so P and I are both dollar amounts. The reason I know that that's P is because this particular problem says right here, find I. So if we're finding I, then they must be giving us P. And then the 3%, is that R or T?
R.
R. And Maddie, what would the 3% be as a decimal?
0.03.
Perfect. Okay. And that means that 10 years must be our time, obviously. There's our T. So on my homework, I would start by writing the simple interest formula down that we're going to use for every single problem. And then underneath I can't replace it with anything because I don't know what I is. But underneath P, I can replace that with 350. I can replace R, the 3%, with 0.03. And I can replace the time with 10 years. Caden Scott, can you tell me what you get when you multiply 350 times 0.03 times 10?
1 second. I'm trying to find my calculator.
Okay, that's fine.
What did you say again, Mr. Bright?
Can you multiply 350 times 0.03 times 10 so we can find out our interest for this problem?
Okay. 105.
That's correct. So $105 is our interest, and that's the answer to part A. If we're going to find out what our account balance is, we first have to start off by finding our interest. Now, who remembers how to find out what the account balance is then, once we know what the interest is?
Add the interest with the principal.
Yeah, exactly. Add that $105 interest on with the amount of money that we started the account with, $350, which is the principal. So take the 350, add the 105 onto that, and that's going to give your account balance. Okay, so my account balance is the amount of money that I put in the bank plus the interest that I'm earning on it. And what is my account balance going to be? Anybody?
$455.
$455. Nice job. That's how you find part B. And make sure you guys are showing, obviously show your work on your work paper. And that's really, I mean, number 5, number 4, 5, 6, 8, they're all the same. And then we'll jump down to 24, 25, and 26 and 27, which are a little bit different. Let's look at number 24. Instead of putting money into the bank, this time we're borrowing it from the bank. It does not change anything as far as what our answer is going to, like how we find our answer. The only thing that are changing here are the numbers. And so we still have our P, we have our R, we have our T. If I'm going to find the amount paid on the loan, I first off have to find out what the interest is that I'm going to pay on the loan. So my interest formula is I equals PRT. I have nothing to plug in for I, but I can plug in $1,500 for P. Ella Rawlings, what would I plug in for R? What decimal am I going to use?
0.09.
Perfect. And then we're going to use 2 years for our time. And then we're just going to multiply all these together. So I like the problems we were finding I, because I can do it in one step. Unlike the problems we did today in the notes, we had to divide something. There's nothing to divide here. Just go ahead and multiply. And Addison Klein, will you tell me what you get when you multiply those 3 numbers together?
$270.
That's correct. So our interest is 270. Now, unlike the other problems, there's not a box for us to put our interest. They just want us to tell us what the amount paid is. So just like before, if you want to know how much you're going to pay back on this loan, take the principal, add on the interest, and what's this loan going to cost us at 9% at 2 years? What's the total cost of the loan going to be?
$1,707.
That's it. Yep. So that's really all we're doing on yesterday's homework. Now we have just a little bit of time left, and I'd like to peek at one homework problem from tonight's homework. Tonight's homework is all about finding R and T, except for number 12, which wants us to find out what I is, but the student made a mistake. So I'm going to read the problem, and I want you to identify if you can figure out what the mistake is so we can correct it down below. It says, which best describes the error in finding the simple interest earned? So finding I, if the principal is $500, the rate is 6%, and the time is 18 months. What did they do incorrectly to solve this problem? Can you find their mistake?
The last option.
What, be more specific, Aiden. Why is the time wrong?
The time, because it's 18 months and they thought it was 18 years.
That's absolutely correct. Nice job. So remember that time is always measured in years. And so if they give you a problem in months, and we had one like this in our notes, we had to do this, we have to convert it to years. And an easy way to convert months to years is just divide it by 12, because there are 12 months in a year. So Aiden, can you tell me what 18 divided by 12 is? Aiden, are you still there?
I got 3.703.
Try it again. 18 divided by 12.
1.5.
1.5, exactly. So 18 months is the same as 1.5 years. And if you know there's 12 years in 12 months in a year, an extra 6 months is just a half a year. So 18 months is a year and a half. Okay, that makes sense. So as you are correcting number 12, they plugged in the 500 to the right spot. They plugged in 0.06 to the right spot. You just have to make sure you replace the 18 with 1.5 years, and you'll get the correct interest for that problem. So that's tonight's number 12 homework on the 6.7 part 2. All right, that's all I got for you guys. You're headed to period 3. You can email me and we can set up a time to Zoom during your SLT if you have questions, or during my office hours after 7th period. Have a great day.